I think the first thing you have to say about the new Audi A7 is that it is legitimately gorgeous. This is a pretty stunning car. I know Audi has had a fantastic reputation for its design department in the last couple of decades, but certainly recently it's been quite rightfully accused of cookie cutter design, making all its cars look too much the same, too much like bigger and smaller versions of each other. But this A7, while it certainly does lift the majority of its silhouette from the previous model, I think is absolutely stonking to look at. It is a really, really pretty but also handsome car. It's kind of lantern-jawed leading man kind of looks. It's really, really good. It is, of course, based on the same chassis as the new A8 luxury car and what will become the new A6 later this year, and sits in between those two. But unlike its conceptually similar BMW rival, the 6 Series GT, this is a car that combines the best of coupe, saloon and luxury car in one, and actually does a really, really good job of it. It is, well, it's pretty much fantastic, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of easy to say that about a car with a 100 grand price tag. Prices for the A7 start at just over 78,000 euro. This one is a hair over 100,000 euro, thanks to having an entire Golf's worth of optional extras, such is the norm with cars at this price level. What does it do well? Pretty much everything. What does it do badly? Pretty much nothing. It isn't perfect. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not as agile to drive as, say, a BMW 5 Series, nor is it quite as sepulchrally smooth as a Mercedes-Benz E-Class or the new CLS, which is its closest rival on paper, I think. It falls somewhere between those two stools. It has mostly a very smooth ride quality, but occasionally it just fidgets and thumps a little bit, which is kind of out of keeping with its otherwise calm demeanour. It is engaging and enjoyable to drive, but without the sort of feedback and feel that you get from the 5 Series. Again, it's falling between the two cars. It's still very Audi-ish to drive. It has that kind of weighty, slightly hefty feeling to it that Audi engineers into its cars, because apparently that's what its buyers like, and that's fair enough. What it is certainly is a lot better to drive than the old A7. It lacks that the tyres are too heavy feeling of the old A7. It's much more nimble, much more agile, although because it's a big, heavy and very, very wide car, you do need to be, shall we say, judicious with your cornering lines and braking points, certainly when you're on a tight and twisty road. And that width doesn't help you much in terms of multi-storey car park spaces either. What this car does extremely well, though, is it makes you feel good. It makes you feel life is a little bit more worth living. From the way the frameless doors open, to the fact that this is one of the best vehicle interiors currently in production. Audi, of course, has long had a reputation of doing fantastic quality on the inside of its cars, and that continues here. Although, to be fair, one or two little rattles and squeaks around this cabin, and this is a very low mileage car, so something needs to be kept an eye on in that department. But you do have this fantastic new dual screen, touchscreen infotainment and climate and everything else setup. It looks brilliant, and for the most part it works very well, although I do have to add the caveat though, it can be a bit fiddly. It can be a little bit less than intuitive. Now, I've only had a few days with this car, so perhaps over time you do become more used to it. You do get more used to the little haptic feedbacks, little kickback that the screen gives to your finger as you press a button. Nonetheless, it's not as intuitive as it otherwise might be. But on the upside, it looks stunning. It looks very, very futuristic, and it works really well in concert with the fantastic virtual cockpit, all digital widescreen display where you can have the sat-nav fully in your face in the instrument binnacle. Really, really like that. On the practical front, well, it's very practical. The boot's enormous. Even with that fast sloping rear end, you'll still be able to pack in pretty much as you need. It's not quite an estate, but it's certainly getting there. Plenty of space, headroom, legroom, everything, comfort in the rear seats, and up here it's fantastic. It's refined, it's soothing, wonderful seats, great driving position, everything you want for a long Autobahn journey at maximum speed. Now, at maximum speed you are going to be getting through the fuel though. This is the 3-litre V6 TDI diesel. I know diesel's evil and all that. This is nevertheless a fantastic engine in isolation, but it is a touch thirsty. Now, generally speaking, on a longer run you should be able to get well above 40 miles to the gallon from it, and that's pretty much acceptable. In more mixed driving, that's going to drop. You're going to end up closer to low 30s MPG, and that's somewhat less acceptable, particularly given that this is a mild hybrid. It uses a 48-volt electrical system to be able to assist the engine. The engine can coast and sail under certain throttle conditions, even up here on the motorway. It shuts down earlier and restarts later when you're driving in stop-start traffic, but it's still, you know, it's munched through a 75-litre fuel tank pretty quickly. So 3-litre engine, big car, heavy four-wheel drive powertrain, all of those things, you can't change the laws of physics, as Mr. Scott always says. Nonetheless, I do think that for all its flaws, this is a genuinely excellent car. Absolutely, without question, the best thing that Audi builds right now. It's stunning to look at, it's good enough to drive, it has a fantastic interior, and it just makes you want to get back out and drive it again. You pull up on the driveway, you walk up to your door, you turn and look back at this car and you think, I think I'll pop out again, just for a few minutes.